Welcome to Total Football Talk. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
And we couldn't do this show without you guys, so I just want to say really quick, because I know I don't do this nearly enough. Thank you to all of the subscribers. All of yous, really. I went suddenly into a New York Italian. All of yous out there means a lot to me. Okay, let me try this again. All of you out there mean a lot. Whether you love us, whether you hate us, whether you like me or you hate me, the fact that you guys watch and you know, bring your passions to this show is what makes this show work. The reason I love doing this is because it gives me a chance to, you know, kind of cover all aspects of football, but at the same time, you know, give people out there that watch the game a voice, because quite frankly, you are all smarter than anybody from ESPN, NFL Network, or NBC or ABC or CBS for that matter. So, without further ado, to you LSU Tiger fans, congratulations. Big win. You guys are champs. Tip my hat. Great work. E, your turn.
Yeah, as far as the national championship went, it didn't turn negatively at all on Trevor Lawrence. I think the LSU defense was a lot more than he could handle, but he's only a sophomore, and I expect him to actually be 10 times better next year in his junior season, which will be his last year at Clemson. So what you did see in the national championship was the next two quarterbacks to be drafted number one overall, with Joe Burrow most likely going to be donning a Cincinnati Bengals jersey and helmet for many years to come.
I think my little 6-year-old is going to be doing a jig when that happens, because I was trying like heck today at where I coached. The girls had a basketball game out on this end of town, so I went to it and I was trying to get him to say "Go Rams," and all he kept saying was "Go Bengals" in front of all the people that I work with, and I'm like, dude, I work with these people. You are embarrassing me. But bless his heart, man. He loves the Bengals. And if Burrow goes there, I think it could be the beginning of turning that thing around, don't you?
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this question. Would you consider Chase Young at number one?
If I'm Cincinnati?
Yeah.
No. No consideration at all.
We saw the Browns do it with Myles Garrett the year before they drafted Baker Mayfield. And they could have easily went a quarterback. I mean, you know, Mahomes or Watson or Trubisky could be a Brown right now.
Yeah, I mean,
as a matter of fact, I'd prefer Trubisky to be a Brown right now.
Well, how did that work out for Cleveland?
Hey, I only know two people who root for Cleveland.
Yeah, and I'm one of them, and I'm telling you, it didn't work out.
Yep. Look,
unfortunately, yeah, right. Unfortunately, in today's football, you get a chance at a quarterback, you take a quarterback. You don't get these guys very often that are good. And very rarely do I sit there and pound the drum on somebody that they're projecting to be number one or number two at quarterback. But Burrow is definitely one of them. So for you Bengal fans out there, it's a no-brainer. Don't question it. Don't doubt it. Don't play games with it. Get Joe Burrow. Build a team around him. You've got the line already. See, that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. The Bengals' number one draft pick last year was an offensive lineman. He blew his ACL out. He'll be back next year. They were decimated with injuries on the O-line. So by getting a quarterback, they've already got the line to protect him. Now it's a matter of finding yourself a running back, finding yourself some weapons in case you lose A.J. Green. You know, you've got some things in place. And look, I love Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was my favorite quarterback throughout the aughts for that whole decade. Unfortunately, he kind of tapered off a little bit and kind of fell into obscurity. I really got frustrated with him a couple years ago when the Bengals got off to that 2-0 start, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, this is looking good. And then I don't know what the heck happened to him, but it's like he reverted back to, you know, freshman in high school. I'm like so frustrated with him, and then the Bengals stumbled. And then, of course, once again, I'm having to defend Andy Dalton, which I'm going to get to that in a minute when we get to the NFC or when we get to the AFC divisional playoff games. But let's start with the playoff games, because those went relatively well, I thought. As far as with the way we predicted, I told you guys the one upset, the one game that I was most nervous about was Ravens Titans. I'll get to that one last. I want to get to I'm gonna work backwards. So, did we already do these games? We didn't do these games yet.
No.
Okay, sorry, I'm having a brain fart. So, I want to start with the Seahawks and Packers. Now, Eric, you picked Green Bay. Give you credit. I picked Seattle. This game looked like it was bad at first. I mean, it was bad at first. Seattle was getting the doors blown off. They made a nice little comeback. Green Bay won, and you got to tip your hat. Aaron Rodgers did what he had to do. He was good enough. But at the end of the day, they won. And it doesn't matter how you look when you win a playoff game, as long as you win a playoff game, apparently. And I'll get to that too later. But I think the turning point in that game was when Seattle was driving in the second quarter. I think it was 14-0 or 14-3. Forgive me, I can't remember exactly the score. And they were kind of in that tweener zone. It was third and about medium. And they did the right call. They put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. But a great defensive play by Jair Alexander knocked it away. The Seahawks had to punt. And they really didn't get an opportunity to make that a game after that. Because yet. The rest of the first half, certainly. Because Green Bay, I think they punted, stopped Seattle, then scored to make it 21-3 or 21, whatever it was. 21-0 at that. I think it was 21-3. I really felt like at the moment that happened, I'm like, okay, you don't get many chances in the playoffs. And I agree with not going for it on fourth down. It's the third down situation that I was like, okay, Green Bay did what they need to do. Now they're going to win the game. And, you text me about halftime and said, I know there's still 2 quarters to play, but I told you. And I sat there and I was like, Russell Wilson, man, watch out. And that second half, he started coming back. And then we saw the second turning point at the end of the game. So I thought it was a well-played football game between two teams that really had no business being there. But they made that playoff game worth the ticket of admission, if you will. E, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves. I don't know what Seattle was doing or trying to accomplish in the first half, but they turned it around in the second half. What really kind of killed Seattle's momentum was the 3 penalties on Jadeveon Clowney. He's going offside, giving Green Bay closer to the end zone, getting closer in the red zone, things like that. And you have to be disciplined. You got to know that Rodgers does a hard count, and he's a master at those free plays, and he usually throws it into the end zone at those points. But I want you to do me a favor. I want you to stand up and give me a slow golf clap right now.
I'm not going to stand up, but I will do this.
Okay. I appreciate that. Congratulations, Pete Carroll. You learned how to run the ball on the goal line with Marshawn Lynch. I'm proud of you. But for one step forward that you take 2 steps back. And Anthony, I'm sorry, I got to disagree. I know Russell Wilson had 3rd and 5, and he was sacked with 2.5 to 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And it went back to maybe like a 4th and 8, 4th and 9. You go for it. You don't punt the ball back to Aaron Rodgers and say, oh, we're going to let our 26th-ranked defense bring the ball back and whatnot. And Green Bay beat the Seahawks on the exact same play that the Seahawks beat the Eagles, and that was a pass to Devontae Adams. There's one guy you mainly have to cover in Green Bay, and that is Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Okay? Double cover him, triple cover him. You could see that Rodgers does not trust Graham. Rodgers does not trust Geronimo Allison. Rodgers threw one pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Doesn't trust him. He does trust Alan Lazard, but not to the extent that he'll ever trust Lazard the way he trusts Devontae Adams. Okay? Well, when we get to our preview, I'll tell you why that's important. But Seattle was so beat up. I was impressed. I was surprised that there were no turnovers, and I thought the turnover that was actually reversed to not being a turnover on Jacob Hollister. was complete and utter crap in the first quarter. I really think so. And now I wasn't rooting for Green Bay, but I saw how that helped the Seahawks. They didn't score on that drive, but I was like, okay, what am I watching here? And then the makeup calls of phantom face mask penalty. Oh, he's got his arm wrapped around his neck area. That's not a face mask, officials. Let's get your eyes checked. All right. There were a few plays, not a lot. There were a few plays that actually could have gone either way. And if they were actually called correctly, Green Bay would not have gotten 2 first downs and kept scoring drives alive. So, Seattle, if Seattle does more than a field goal in the first half, it may end up winning that game.
Yeah.
Vegas did something about that game because they actually set the line at 4.5 and Green Bay won by 5. And if I could have, I would have mortgaged my whole life savings on that game, thinking that Green Bay was going to win by 4.5 or more, or by 5 or more. And luckily, I would have been right. But then I would have probably been pooping out bricks if that was the case.
Yeah, you would have.
But hey, you know what? That's what happens. That's what happens when you face a good defensive team.
Eric,
Stepped up.
I think we can both agree that if you had done that, you would have been pooping out divorce papers.
Probably.
All right, I want to move to Houston against Kansas City. Look, I don't know what to say here. I mean, obviously, 51-31, great game. Kansas City with a great comeback. They were down 24. Actually, I do know what to say here. I only have to say 2 words, and it's a name. Bill O'Brien.
O'Brien.
That is all I have to say. Houston, you will never go beyond this point with O'Brien as your head coach. And quite honestly, you've made the playoffs over the years in spite of O'Brien, okay? Because he's an awful coach. He's got to be one of the worst coaches in NFL history, and yet somehow he's making the playoffs year in and year out. You got Deshaun Watson. You're up 24, and you can't win this game.
I have 2 points to make really quick on that. Okay? One, I was kind of scrolling through social media during a game, and somebody called Bill O'Brien a great coach. I almost laughed off my chair.
Oh my God.
2, and as soon as the Chiefs hit the 40s, I replied to him and said, "You still think O'Brien's a good coach?" No response, of course.
Yeah.
And 2, Bill O'Brien is safe because the Texans are again going to go into next year without a GM. So he's really got nobody to answer to except for the owner.
Look, there are worse coaches in NFL history. I would be remiss if I didn't say that what's his name in Cleveland that went 0-16 was a terrible coach.
Oh, Hugh Jackson, who went 1-31 in 2 years?
Yeah, Hugh Jackson's the worst coach in NFL history. There's no way around it. I don't care what he did in Oakland for a year or 2, but he's trash. But O'Brien's he's got to be in the top 10. And yet somehow the guy and it's weird because his team keeps making the playoffs, but as I said, they make it in spite of him. Look, I don't have much to say here. Deshaun Watson played great. Kansas City has no defense. I really worry about this Tennessee Titan game coming up because I don't know that they can stop the Titans running game. You couldn't stop the Houston Texans offense, which is pretty much a one-dimensional, predictable offense. Now you got to deal with if Tannehill's completing passes and Henry's running the ball, there's some let's put it this way. Kansas City will not be the champion at the end of this season. They may get there, but they're going to lose to the NFC.
It's interesting you say that because the Texans' first score was out of blown coverage because the Texans finally had Will Fuller back, and he does a lot to open up that offense, okay? And another one was a must punch by Tyreek Hill. So to say that the Chiefs' defense isn't that great, yeah, they gave up 31, but that's a 31 with I see that they scored and how they scored. So you got to kind of look at the drives and what led up to it. Everybody's got blown coverage every now and then. And I thought Kansas City actually clamped down. They only gave up 7 points after the first quarter. Okay? They were down 24-0, but they were up 28-24. I'll tell you where this game changed. A lot of people are going to throw the blame with O'Brien. Of course, head coach gets all the blame when you lose, and nothing goes on the players, but whatever. But I'll tell you, he thought he already had the first down when he kicked that field goal, and he really wanted to go for it on fourth down. Well, you called a timeout, so go for it. What do you got to lose? It's a playoff game. It's win or go home. Okay, fine. The fake punt, yeah, you didn't want to give Kansas City the ball back and let them score. It took them 2 plays to score. But where it really turned is when the clock struck 15 and the quarter changed from 1 to 2, and the Chiefs scored that first touchdown. That's when the floodgates opened. That's when it was like, oh crap! And then 3.5 minutes later, it's like, what the heck just happened? What am I watching?
Yeah, well, and
you seriously thought you were watching. You seriously thought you were watching a game of NFL Blitz on the TV.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, with Kansas City, any good offense, if they score one, you got to feel like the flood is coming. But great defenses rise up to it. I guess for me, Eric, the thing is, you could say one came on a muff punt, but New England's worked with short fields before and shut somebody down, holding them to a field goal. Like, I'm sorry, and yeah, Will Fuller makes a big difference, but at the same time, that's my whole point. Houston is one-dimensional. They are a throw-only team.
When you have a tight end who's 6'7" and is built like the size of the Grand Canyon, yeah, I mean, you're going to let up a touchdown every now and then.
Eric, the bottom line is you gave up 24 points in one quarter. And it was a playoff game.
It was a bad start to Kansas City.
Damn.
That was one quarter. Guess what they did 3 other quarters? They took the lead, won by 20.
Well, because, again, right,
So
let me
look where the Texans scored their last touchdown, okay? Fourth quarter, when the game was completely out of reach.
I understand that.
They really shut them down for 2.5 quarters.
But what are you going to do against the 49ers who actually have a defense? And you're not going to put up 51 points. You're down 24 to San Francisco at the end of one quarter. You're not beating the 49ers. You're not. I don't care who your quarterback is. Because you're going to have Bosa and everybody teeing off coming after your one dimension. You got Sherman Williams out there. You don't have whatever Houston trucks out there at corner. So it's a completely different animal. Now, Green Bay...
Sherman Williams the painter?
I keep doing that. I keep calling him Sherman Williams. That shows you how much I hate him.
Sherman Williams?
Sherman Williams the painter.
He live in your house?
What the hell is his first name?
Richard.
I can't stand him. I hate him. Fine. Sherman Williams. That's what I'll keep calling him Sherman. Yep, I'll keep calling him Sherman.
Richard Sherman.
I know. I hate Sherman Williams. Listen, here's the deal. Okay? It's like the Chargers. You're not going to get me to change it. Okay? But he is a great corner, regardless of how you feel about him. And when you got that kind of a lead, he's going to be able to play his game. I just think it's, Kansas City righted the ship. I give them credit. And their offense got explosive, and Houston had no response. But that was your concern going into the playoffs, and I don't believe they addressed that concern after this playoff game. Now, we'll see what happens in the championship game. They have more time to, pun intended, tighten it up. But they're going to have to.
Nice. So, okay, hypothetically speaking, who do you put Sherman on? You put Sherman on Kelsey, Hill, or Watkins?
Hill.
You put him on Hill. Hill's going to blow right by him.
But the 49ers don't run man, so he's going to blow right by him into his zone.
But he's going to stop right in the zone. He's going to stop in between 4 guys, and Mahomes is going to hit him right in the middle.
Oh, you're right, because Bosa's just going to sit there and be like, go ahead, I'll give you 45 minutes to throw the ball.
You know, he only has to run. The amount of times it takes Tyreek Hill to run 8 yards, 8 to 10 yards, Bosa's not even off the line yet.
So Tyreek Hill has never dropped a pass. He's caught every pass ever thrown to him, and he has over 19,000 yards a year? Because you're making it sound like no one in the history of football has covered Tyreek Hill.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
Let's see if Kansas City actually gets there first.
Right. I mean, we're kind of previewing, I think, our Super Bowl pick early. But look, As far as that goes, for me, I went into this game going, okay, Kansas City, show me what you got. I left this game going, okay, I knew you had that, but I still don't know what you got on defense, and that concerns me. But great win against a football team that I honestly think, and I don't mean this as an insult, because with Patrick Mahomes, I expected that. He's a great quarterback. I walked out of this more impressed with Deshaun Watson and his ability to, when he has all his weapons, what he's capable of doing. And then, yes, I give credit to the Chiefs defense in quarters 2 through 3, the second and third quarter, because they did shut down a very capable offense for 2 quarters. But, Eric, as you love to say every time, there's 4 quarters to a football game.
That's right.
Okay.
Can we also stop the notion of putting the words Hall of Fame and Patrick Mahomes together in one sentence?
Oh my God, dude! I'm
so kind of sick of it. I know you don't do it.
I'm so done with it. I'm so done with it.
But I think it's kind of ridiculous.
It's first of all, you know what it tells me? It tells me that the Hall of Fame is a friggin' joke. That's what it tells me. If you're already putting a guy in the Hall of Fame who's only going into his 3rd year, then it can't be that prestigious of a club. Just saying.
It's mainly one person on a very large radio show in the morning, and I'm not going to say his name.
I will, Mike and Mike. It's Ringo.
It kind of sounds like Ringo.
I'm just going to say it. I don't care. Dock me. It's Trey Wingo. He's a friggin' idiot. He's a friggin' moron. He's one of the reasons why I'm doing this show. Because I got tired of listening to people like that who supposedly knows football, but certain parts of my anatomy have more knowledge of football than he has in his entire chasm of a brain. So I'll say it. Trey Wingo from Mike and the Wingo, Mike and Wingo show, whatever the frig it's called. More like Dingo. Anyway, moving on. Minnesota, San Francisco. Here we go. Wow. I tell you what, outside of 1987, when Minnesota, 1987 and probably, 72, 73, 71, 70, 1970, one of those early 70s when they beat the fight. Like the Vikings play the Niners and they just throw their hands up in the air and go, we can't win. Because they've won. I knew they were going to lose the game. I was hoping for a competitive game. I thought it was going to be closer. I did call the 49ers points, by the way. I said 27-21. It was 27-10. So I at least got that. So I called KC. I called San Fran. I did not call Seattle and Green Bay. So right now I'm 2-1, but we all know who I picked in the other game that we're going to get to. I think for me, this game, it's tell me if I'm wrong, Eric. I want to believe the 49ers because of what they've done all year long. And I know what they're going to do against Green Bay, but I really think the reason some people are going to go into the Super Bowl with some animosity towards San Francisco is their path to the Super Bowl is going to be pretty pathetic, right? I mean, compare it to the Rams a year ago.
You can't blame them for that.
No. I'm not blaming them.
I know.
I'm not blaming them. But you look at it, you go, Minnesota, okay, you should have won that one, and you should have won it big. And to their credit, they did. You got Green Bay now, and it's like, really? Green Bay's not very good either. I know, you can't blame them, but this is why I think people are going to have a hard time picking them in the Super Bowl, because we don't have a really good barometer. 27-10, I watched the game, it was 7-7, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a pretty good game. And then your boy Bosa showed up, and Sherman Williams showed up. Yeah, I'm saying that again. And the 49ers really just kind of locked it down, and Minnesota could only get a field goal after that, first or second drive? I believe it was their first drive. They responded to the 49ers touchdown. So, forgive me, I came in...
Yeah, 41-yard touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs. He finally showed up.
Yeah. So, I mean, but you got to tip your hat. Because the Niners, after that, were like, no mas. You get no mas. And they really held them. And outscored them 20-3 the rest of the way. So, I don't want to say impressive win, but the win that they needed to have, an unexpected win, is probably a better way of putting it.
I think it was a good game for San Francisco to come in here, get D Ford back, get him back in the rotation, get their other guy back. They had two guys come off IR. I apologize, I don't remember the second one. But they got them all back in the rotation. They're like, okay, how's this going to work? We got Minnesota. Let's focus on stopping Dalvin Cook and make Kirk Cousins beat us. So somewhere in between the Sunday prior against the Saints and the Sunday in Santa Clara, somebody went into Minnesota and said, will the real Vikings please stand up? And the real Vikings did stand up in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
And that's a Vikings team that we all figured would show up.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of people I was hearing that, I'm thinking the Vikings, they impressed me. Again, one game doesn't change the narrative. Change the narrative over the course of a year. Okay? Yeah. Change the narrative over the course of even half a season, and then you're going to pique my interest. But San Francisco came in, when Garoppolo threw the pick, he only threw 6 passes after that. Okay, that game could have easily been 44 to 10. I use the same score that Anthony for the Niners. I picked 27 to 17. It ended up being 27 to 10. And
I picked 27-21.
Minnesota was actually going to get the what's that?
I believe mine was 27-21.
Yeah, I was thinking that Cook might actually find some room to run, and they throw some screen passes to him. Man, Kirk Cousins forgot to show up as he normally does. So, yeah. I mean, San Francisco took care of business. They could have probably piled on more, but you know what? Kevin Coleman was a beast on the ground, and they're like, you know what? If we have one aspect working right now, let's just let Kevin Coleman run.
Yeah.
He's a guy with a hot hand right now. Okay, Rita, you'll spell him. Monster, you'll go in. You guys will get a couple of snaps here and there, but we're gonna ride the hot hand. And if Minnesota tries to catch up and they start to creep back into it, then we'll start throwing that we need to. But man, I'll tell you, if San Francisco's gonna start throwing that ball, I'll tell you, Emmanuel Sanders, I expect him to show up big. I expect Hill to show up big. And, man, they have a really good rookie wide receiver in Deebo Samuel, and he is so fun to watch. But, alas, nobody's going to win Sunday, and it's going to be a repeat of the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. So they're your Super Bowl. Kansas City, Tennessee, congratulations.
Okay. I'm going to first say this. I have a very interesting question for you guys out there that watch this show. And Eric, I'm going to pose the same question to you before I go off here for a minute. I would like for you out there to really think hard about this answer, if there even is one. And here's the question. Is there a young white quarterback that the National Football League experts, and I use that term very loosely, like? Because all I ever hear anymore from the network is the old-timers, Drew Brees, what's-his-face in New England, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and then it's all the black quarterbacks are the greatest thing to ever happen to the National Football League since the creation of the ball itself. And I'm sitting there, and to me, it's off-putting as an athlete because it's like, why are you so fixated on somebody's pigmentation? Can't you just acknowledge that they're good athletes? It has nothing to do with their skin color, but it has to do with their talent level. Can you name a young white quarterback that the NFL experts are hot and horny over? I can't. I literally can't. Can you, E?
Garoppolo.
Oh, no. I'm hearing people trash him, too. But, okay. You say Garoppolo.
Come on. When you have your nickname that a lot of the, loosely termed coined experts throw out there. His nickname is Jimmy GQ.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're all like, oh, well, he's a great-looking white quarterback. Okay, great. Okay, who cares? But yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is the only one right now that I could tell. That would even come close.
And I would say that he's still getting criticism from other experts. But what is interesting is unilaterally, they never give criticism to any of the other quarterbacks that are on their hot and horny list, as I like to call it. It's off-putting because I told you guys my favorite quarterback outside of Jared Goff right now, and they're probably tied if you want me to be perfectly honest with you, just because I've watched so many Jared Goff games. I know what he's about. But for me, my favorite quarterback in the National Football League right now is Deshaun Watson. And you guys probably didn't even know that until I mentioned it last week. And by the way, that didn't change after this performance against Kansas City. But what bothers me is...
You should still be a Chicago Bear. But, oh, wait, that's right. That's what would happen if I was running the team.
Yeah, no kidding, right? We need to get that to happen and have me be the head coach. But, what I find off-putting besides that is the blatant obviousness of it. So I'm going to show you guys how easy this really is. Are you ready? I have said from day one, you cannot blame a playoff loss on a quarterback and a quarterback alone. No matter how good, no matter how talented you are, you need guys to catch the ball, you need people up front to block, and you need guys to run the ball. And right now, this is a real popular narrative because nobody wants to criticize Lamar Jackson for this postseason performance. I will tell you when I knew Tennessee was going to win the game. It was Lamar Jackson's first pass when he threw it 5 yards short in the dirt to his tight end. And I remember going, Tennessee's going to win this game. It's the same thing I said when Joe Montana... It's the same thing I said when John Elway's first pass in Super Bowl 24 was short on the outside on a pass that he completes 85% of the time through the course of the regular season. I looked at my brother and I went, this is going to get ugly. And my brother's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this is going to get ugly. I didn't think it was going to be 55-10 ugly, but it got ugly. So my issue with Lamar Jackson continues to be he's predictable. He's one-dimensional. It's a great one dimension, right? But the small hands, which everyone claims is Goff's issue, and that's why Goff can never be a great quarterback because he has small hands. We've seen it over and over again at inopportune times with Jared Goff. And it's a fair criticism. My question is, what about Lamar's small hands? He had all those fumbles last year. He blew it in the playoff game, right? At least that's what the narrative should have been. But again, I don't believe that. It takes more than one guy to lose a football game. But there's no question he turned the ball over in that game, fumbled the ball. He made his share of mistakes. In this game, he made his share of mistakes. But yet, all of a sudden, don't you dare criticize Lamar Jackson. Where were these people when Andy Dalton was losing playoff games? That's my question. Because all I heard was Andy Dalton is trash because he can't win a playoff game. Gets into the playoffs, that you don't want to acknowledge. That you can ignore because you know what? I don't care. You got to win a playoff game. Well, where are you at with Lamar now, boys? He's 0 for 2. And this one was a big one. 14-2 at home with what everyone said was the best team in Baltimore history, and he can't win the game. Oh, all of a sudden now, those criticisms, you can't have them. It absolutely infuriates me. It infuriates me because for once, the media is right. But the hypocrisy is so bad, it's almost as bad as Nancy Pelosi opening her mouth. It's that kind of hypocrisy. It's like, do you really think I'm that stupid? Do you really think I'm dumb enough to believe you when Andy Dalton for 6 years was torn to shreds? Jared Goff was ripped apart for losing the Super Bowl. Forget that he won 2 playoff games. He was torn to shreds after he lost Super Bowl 53. But Lamar, oh, he's Jesus Christ reincarnate, don't you dare. Matter of fact, half of the NFL Network will probably be oiling his feet and washing his toe jam this weekend. It's pathetic. Can we please get some reality here? Get some perspective here. Can we just be consistent? Baltimore didn't lose the game because of Lamar Jackson. He was certainly a contributing factor. But no team is garbage, or no team, I should say, makes the playoffs if their quarterback is garbage consistently. Right? You can get there once. The Rams did that in the 80s. Right? Got to the playoffs with guys like Jeff Kemp and Dieter Brock. But let's not forget they got there with Vince Ferragamo and Jim Everett too. And those guys weren't trash. Right? And they had a superior team around those guys. The Ravens didn't lose because of Lamar Jackson, but he did contribute to the loss. Regardless of what the NFL Network, ESPN, Fox, ABC, CBS, you name the network, wants to claim, yes, he had a major part to do with this. And yes, the fumble bug showed back up. The inability to keep his eyes downfield as the pocket's collapsing around him showed back up. And his propensity to make mistakes showed back up. But you know what? It's okay. Because there was a lot of things going wrong around him. And I just get so mad when I hear people get propped up on a pedestal unjustifiably for their performance. Right? And then other guys get torn down as if everything else they accomplished had nothing to do with it. I don't understand this. I like this quarterback, so now I'm going to put him in the Hall of Fame, Trey Wingo, regardless of what I see on the field. And in this case, with Lamar, it was a rough night. Mark Henry showed back up. Tannehill did what Tannehill does. Vrabel had a great defensive scheme. Derrick Henry. What did I say? Mark Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's Mark Henry?
I don't even know. I don't even know right now. I'm ranting. Leave me alone.
Who's Sherman Williams?
I told you, that's on purpose. That's like the Chargers, right? Henry was a mistake, though. I just, for me, it's like, look, can we because honestly right now, Eric, here's my frustration. I don't know that the NFL is literally capable anymore of evaluating talent. And what I mean by that, and I don't mean the NFL teams, I mean the analysts. Like, I don't know that they can look at a player and go, wow, this guy's really good. It's like all they care about is, do they put up fantasy football numbers so I can get rich quick? That's all they care about. And the tangibles get missed. The intangibles that make you a great player, they get missed. It's just frustrating. It really is. Anyway, my take on this game is really simple. Running the football travels. Playing good defense travels. Vrabel did a great job of figuring out what the Baltimore Ravens' weaknesses were in their two losses, and they exploited them. They played a great game. They caught the football when Lamar threw it to them. They recovered the ball when it was on the ground, and Tannehill completed the passes that he needed to complete. I was impressed with Baltimore, with Tennessee in this game, with the way they completely schemed. And Baltimore, how could they see it coming? They had been so dominant for so long, no one was able to exploit those weaknesses. What I was disappointed with Baltimore is their inability to recover once those were exposed. We saw the same reaction from the Baltimore Ravens we saw when Cleveland did it, the same reaction we saw from Baltimore when they had their first loss. So, for me, against Kansas City. So, for me, tip your hat. Tip your hat to Tennessee. Give credit to Tannehill. Give credit to Vrabel. And certainly give credit to Derrick Henry and that Tennessee Titans offensive line, because running the ball and playing defense, it travels. It's not just for home. Your takeaway.
Well, I mean, I think you just did a take for a whole panel of people, so.
Yeah.
Listen, Lamar Jackson doesn't play defense. Yes, Lamar Jackson can wear out his defense by turning the ball over. What really sunk the Ravens is that on fourth down in the regular season, they were 70% success rate. They had 2 fourth and ones, and they didn't get either of them. They also went for 4th down later on in the game when it was out of reach, when they were down 28-12. Again, they didn't get that. So they went 0 for 3 on 3rd downs, and got stopped twice on Lamar Jackson runs on 4th and 1s. Okay? So, yeah, that does definitely take a little bit of air out of the bubble. But that doesn't excuse Baltimore's defense from not stopping Derrick Henry, who ran for 195 yards.
Good Lord.
He was a truck. He was a truck that said, come and tackle me because I'm going downhill on all 18 wheels, and I'm not pumping the brakes, so good luck. And that's what he did. He did break one, and he got tackled inside the 10 by Marcus Peters, and it didn't even look like he was running fast. Like, his whole upper body was just perfectly not like bouncing up and down, okay? It was just his legs that were moving. Like, you couldn't even tell. If you just watched the upper half of his body, you didn't even know he was moving. And, Lamar Jackson cannot go out there, play safety or quarterback, and try to cover Khalif Raymond on a 45-yard touchdown pass after the Ravens, I think that was on a turnover. So, blame Lamar all you want. Yeah, he looked like crap. I'll say it. I don't care. He looked like crap. He put up a lot of empty stats. 365 yards passing, 140-something or 130-something on the ground, 143 on the ground. He had 508 yards of total offense by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But only 1 touchdown pass and 2 field goals to show for it. So, the Titans, listen, if the Ravens didn't believe the Titans could come in there like they went into New England and beat them, they just gave the Ravens something else more to think about. If I'm the Chiefs, I'll tell you one thing right now. I win the toss, I go down and score, and I try to take the running game out. Because as soon as you stop, you got to score. They need to be up by 14 in this AFC Championship game, because there's no way that they're going to be able to get behind, get down 2 scores, and then Mahomes is going to be like, oh, well, let me just score 50 points on. No, that's not going to happen in Tennessee. I don't care that you lost 35-32 and had your kick blocked at the end of regulation in the regular season in Tennessee. Hey, man, it's the playoffs. One mistake could cost you dearly. And the Titans, I don't know if I've ever seen quarterback play to where a quarterback who wins 2 games still has yet to throw for 100 yards.
Yeah.
He's thrown for 153 yards in 2 playoff games against the Patriots, who had the number 1 defense in football, against the Ravens, who were, I believe, a top 10 defense. And now they get Patrick Mahomes, who just lit up the scoreboard for 51 points on the Texans. So, yeah, I want to say good luck, but I've been saying good luck the last week for the Titans, and I don't know how to call this next game because you just don't know what's going to happen, obviously. But we're in the prediction business for a reason.
Yep.
Listen, I'll tell you where the biggest X factor is. When the Chiefs were down 24-0, Andy Reid was just livid. I've seen the Titans play close games, and I'll tell you, Mike Vrabel is as cool as a cucumber. And I'll tell you, guys feed off that. They want that guy to be their head coach. They want them to lead them into one of the most impossible situations that is, and that's a 6 seed going on the road 3 times to get to the Super Bowl. And
it's happened before.
He's doing it with a colonel who hasn't thrown for over 100 yards, but he's got a workhorse back in Derrick Henry, who's like, you know what, guys, just put me on your shoulders, and I'm going to take you the rest of the way.
But you know what? I'm going to quote you here. Derrick Henry doesn't play defense. And what Tennessee has done now to, I don't want to say New England because New England didn't have much of an offense, but what they did to the Baltimore Ravens and the NFL MVP on offense, I got no reason to believe they can't do it to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, I just
The thing is, the biggest takeaway between the two teams, between Baltimore and Tennessee, is that Baltimore is a lot more coverable. You can cover Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle. And I know Marquise Brown had 126 yards receiving, but I mean, a lot of those were near the sideline, and a lot of the tight end packages were in the middle of the field. Okay? So when Tennessee's like, okay, well, they don't have a wide receiver who can really burn us, so we'll let Lamar Jackson throw. We're just not going to let him in the end zone, and we're not going to let him run for like 50 yards to get into the end zone either. Yeah, they gave up those 508 yards total to Jackson, but a lot of those were, second 2 minutes to go in the second quarter or less. A lot in the fourth quarter. He just couldn't get going in the quarters that mattered to get them closer.
all right.
Now the weapons that the Chiefs possess with Kelsey, and he's a little banged up, but also with Watkins, with Tyreek Hill and Damian Williams primarily out of the backfield catching passes, not running as much. Tennessee might have a little bit more difficulty covering that, but hey, they've done it already once before, and they played in a shootout, so there's nothing to say again that they can't play in another shootout and live in Kansas City.
Well, here's how I see. This is what I think is going to happen. Okay, we're doing predictions. Let's predict the AFC Championship game. I think Kansas City doesn't get out to a 14-0 lead. I think they get out to a 17-0 lead. But here's where you're wrong, Eric. The Titans aren't going to abandon the run down 14 or down 17. They're going to keep running the ball because they don't have another option. And they understand that eventually that running game is going to click. That Kansas City's going to be teeing off on the quarterback, and they're going to run right by him. And everyone's going to put a fork in Tennessee. And Tennessee's going to come back and have a 21-17 lead. But at the end of the day, Mahomes is too much, that crowd is too much, and this is Kansas City's opportunity. And I can't see Andy Reid letting it slip through their fingers. And I think they roll out to a 38-21 lead, and there's your final score. I think it's going to be blowout early, close mid, blowout late. We've seen this with Kansas City before. Slow starts or fast starts, slow down. This was their MO last year, right? Get a big lead, team gets back in the game, and then they run away with it. We saw it in the AFC Championship game last year, except it was too far, too little, too late. This isn't going to, and plus they got screwed by the officials. This isn't going to happen with Tennessee. And Tannehill's going to have to throw the ball in the fourth quarter, and I don't think he's going to be able to. So I do think that Kansas City's the better team. I think this championship game is interesting. It is not one that I particularly would like to, that I'm going to enjoy watching, only because I don't like the style of offense Kansas City plays, and I'm not a Titan fan, although it's hard not to root for them right now. But I love the way Tennessee plays football. And unfortunately, if Tennessee had a better quarterback, I think that the Titans system would be better. I say that knowing that Tannehill's had a strong year. He's beaten Mahomes already this year, or at least Kansas City. Certainly he can do it again. This is not a terrible and awful team. It's going to be tough to do because of the elements. And trust me, as a Ram fan that saw my team travel to New England in the last week of the regular season, win, make the playoffs, travel to Philadelphia from LA, win, then fly back home, travel to the Giants to play New York in the divisional round and win, fly back home, then go to San Francisco. You run out of gas. You just run out of gas. And I think Tennessee's got a great running game, but what do the rest of the guys around him have? I don't know. I know the line will do fine. I know the running game will be okay, but what does the defense have? And when do they run out of gas trying to stop, which is a full-time job in itself, Patrick Mahomes? It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to go Kansas City 38, Tennessee 21. I think they get off to their big lead, but I don't think that scares Tennessee out of their game plan, and they get back in the game because of it. But then Kansas City goes on a run, and I don't think Tennessee recovers from the second spurt out of the gate. And Kansas City's in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 54. First time in 50 years, because they were in Super Bowl 4 against Minnesota. Take it away, E.
Yeah, I think you're underestimating Ryan Tannehill a little bit. And I don't believe he's been unleashed at all either yet in this playoffs. And I think that unleashing comes out this week. Again, I don't think it's enough to where it's going to put Tennessee in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, in order for that to happen, they got to get out to an early lead, create a turnover, get another touchdown, be up 14-0, and then just pound the ball and pound the ball, pound the ball. But I don't think you see Derrick Henry with another 150-yard plus game. But I do think you're going to see a lot more of Tannehill to Jonnu Smith and Tannehill to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a rookie wide receiver. He's had like 4 touches this whole postseason. They haven't even used him because Tannehill's only thrown for 158 yards or however many, not even 160 yards. So I think this is a game where Tannehill to A.J. Brown hooks up big time. Watch that connection. I know he might be a little bit frustrated, but his time is coming. I mean, they're an offensive juggernaut. I don't think they put up 51 like they did against the Texans because Tennessee's defense is a lot better. But I think their offense is too much for Tennessee to handle. I don't agree with the whole, I know you try to compare it to the Rams going to the East Coast back and forth and then the San Francisco, whatnot. But Tennessee, remember, centrally located. Okay, yeah. So getting to New England, may be the longest trip. Baltimore's not that far, and Kansas City is just a couple of states west. So, I mean, yeah, it's still, a couple-hour flight here and there, but I don't think it's going to be as bad. Listen, weather's not going to be a factor. It's going to be 22. Yeah, it's cold. Guess what? Tennessee plays outside in Nashville, where it can also get cold, too. So, not so worried about that. But I do believe that it's Kansas City's turn in the 100th season of the NFL to go to the Super Bowl. And I think they win this game 34-23.
So we're not that far off in our prediction. All right. The NFC Championship game. So I want to say this first. To MM Forever, I believe. I know I misquoted you before, and I'm sorry, MM. But you said that you would disagree with me. You actually felt like this was one of the better seasons that you've seen in a long time. I have to say, I've enjoyed these playoffs because we finally, for the first time, God, in 20 years, we got something different. We got Tennessee and Kansas City. We didn't get Baltimore, New England, Denver, New England, Indy, New England, Pittsburgh and New England, Pittsburgh and Denver. We actually got something different. And it's kind of exciting. The NFC Championship game, these two teams played in the 96 championship game. 97 championship game. Green Bay went to San Francisco. Brett Favre beat the Niners and went on to try to win his second straight Super Bowl, but came up short against John Elway. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's different. Finally. Not the same old tired retread. I'm watching the NFC Championship game with great interest because I like the tradition of the two teams. And when I say I don't like the AFC Championship game, I don't like it because I don't think it's going to be a great game. But I am going to thoroughly enjoy watching it because it's different. But I will enjoy the NFC Championship game more than the AFC Championship game. And the reason I say that is I do think this is going to be close for a while. I think Jimmy G comes out nervous. I think the 49ers come out nervous. I think Green Bay comes out amped up to stop the run. I think the 49ers defense comes out a little shaky, but holds their ground. I could see this at halftime being 10-3 Green Bay. And people going, oh, Green Bay's going to the Super Bowl. Here we go, Super Bowl I rematch, because I believe Kansas City plays first. Pump the brakes, because Bosa and the 49ers are going to take over in the second half. And the third quarter, I think it's going to be 17-10 San Francisco. I think Green Bay gets a field goal in the fourth quarter. I think San Francisco responds with 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and they walk out of there not 2 field goals, 10 points. I think they get a field goal to make it 20-17. And then I think they score a touchdown towards the end of the game after Green Bay gets stopped. I think it's a Jimmy G touchdown to Kittle. And I think the 49ers win it 27-10. I don't see Green Bay winning this game. I don't think that they have enough on offense to handle what the 49ers can do on defense. I don't think, because of the time of year that Green Bay is going out there, that this is going to be a go out and enjoy sunny and wonderful California. This is San Francisco in January. It's going to be friggin' cold with that water coming in. I know it's Santa Clara, okay? But it's still Northern California, and it gets a little bit colder up there. So this isn't a vacation trip for the Green Bay Packers this week, like it was in the regular season. But I do think that the 49ers have more weapons on offense. I think they have more weapons on defense. I think Green Bay's dealing with a short deck, and I think Aaron Rodgers isn't having – I know he's not having a great year this year. He's having a great year not turning the ball over, but statistically speaking, it's kind of been a blah year for him. And I think that the 49ers are going to win this game, and I think Jimmy G might finally get the credit that he deserves from the rest of those that doubt him, because there still is a lot of speculation on, well, can we really trust Jimmy G? You know, I've heard a lot more people say he's earned the contract, but I think it's going to be the 49ers' day. And we're going to get the Super Bowl that we all wanted in 93 but didn't get several years later. So it's not Joe Montana versus Steve Young. It's Patrick Mahomes versus Jimmy G, but we'll have to wait and see. 27-17 49ers. Take it away, Eric.
All right, well, the forecast on Sunday calls for it to be 62, so it could be a vacation for Green Bay because they're getting out of the 20s and into the 60s.
Yeah.
At game time kickoff, it could be, 56? Ooh, really cold. Listen, I think it's actually completely opposite of what you're going with. I think it's going to be the Packers who are playing more like, crap, we played them, we know what we have to do, but they're going to end up playing tight. San Francisco is going to come out and they're going to be like, well, you know what? Okay, I know we run up on Green Bay and I know we pass all up on Green Bay and we know we can get killed, so we're going to keep going with Mostert and Coleman and Breida and stop us. Go ahead. Because who's going to be lined up on Devontae Adams? Richard Sherman, Anthony's favorite defensive back of all time, not named Jerry Gray.
Shut up.
So that leaves one-dimensional Green Bay with a run game that's going to be able to stop Aaron Jones. Yeah, he's going to get his yards. He'll have his 60, 70, maybe 80 yards rushing on the ground, okay? But it's not going to be enough. And I just think that San Francisco has this opportunity to be like, you know what? Yeah, we beat Green Bay 37-8 earlier this year. But no, we didn't have D Ford. No, we didn't have this guy. No, we didn't have that guy. And they didn't exert a ton of energy facing the Minnesota Vikings. Plus, they also had an extra day off or day of rest between when they played and when Green Bay played, and Green Bay's got to go out to the West Coast. Now, it's not like Green Bay plays in London or Nova Scotia or something like that. I mean, they're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, right on the lake. So, you know, it's not like they're, you know, coming in from thousands and thousands of miles away. But they are led by Aaron Rodgers. They are going to get a score to keep it close. I'm seeing more of a 24-14, 27-17, maybe even a 31-17 or 20 game, somewhere around there. But I do think they win by at least 2 scores. I just think it's San Francisco and Kansas City's time to finally bask in the spotlight. I know San Francisco was there, you know, when the infamous lights went out in the Superdome. But I think if Green Bay ends up winning, I'll say it right now, I think the NFL fixed it that way.
Ooh, going out on a limb.
Especially if Kansas City wins as well.
All right. Well,
I mean, listen, you have a Super Bowl I rematch. You're in the 100th NFL season. People want to see they're going to say, oh, people want to see Rodgers and Mahomes, and oh, State Farm this, State Farm that, and oh yeah, okay. And I'll tell you, last thing I want to see is Green Bay in the 100th NFL season Super Bowl.
Well, it certainly could. I mean, it certainly sounds a little too perfect. So, but I've said it's rigged for a long time, Eric. So, I'm glad you'll be finally on board if that does end up happening. We'll wait and see. I want to touch on something since we're talking about rigs and rigging games. I hope that the NFL took note this week. To the NFL, I have a simple message. Did you watch how the MLB handled cheating? Did you see what Major League Baseball did? That's what you should have done. Belichick should have been suspended for a year minimum. There should have been a hefty fine, and they should have been without a first and a second round pick for 2 years. And the proper people should have fired Bill Belichick, and he should have been, for at least a year, untouched. That's what should have happened. But see, football doesn't care. Football is as dirty as a San Francisco street corner. Baseball takes itself seriously, but it also takes its fans seriously. It doesn't treat its fans like they're just a bunch of inbred backwoods. I don't even want to say backwoods because that's insulting to people in the South. They don't think they're a bunch of, uneducated, ignorant, big city, drooling, social media zombie morons. They actually respect their fans. And they actually know how to apologize to their fans without coming out and making a formal statement. So I tip my hat as a Yankee fan and a Dodger fan to Major League Baseball. My Dodgers didn't get their 2 World Series like they should have gotten. My Yankee-Dodger World Series didn't happen like it should have. But you know something? Baseball did the right thing by addressing the issue and fixing it. And what is it with my teams getting screwed by people that don't know how to play within the rules of the game? I find it infuriating. My Rams have been screwed out of 2 Super Bowls. We should be 3-1 in Super Bowls with 2 victories over New England and 1 over Tennessee. My beloved Dodgers and Yankees should have played each other in the 2017 World Series. And the Dodgers should have had at least 1 World Series with a victory over Boston, undoubtedly. But what do we get instead? We get New England doing what New England does. But at least in baseball, we get a response that is both appropriate, proper, and not complete yet. I'll tell you something. Eric, I'm jealous of you. Because the sport that you chose to be your love interest, your first true love, boy, they did you right. And they treat you right. Mine's a San Francisco hooker. And she treats me like it. That's all the NFL is. It's a heroin addicted, drugged up prostitute off of a street corner. And I expect her to come home every night and treat me right. And instead, I got to pick her up from the local penitentiary, from the local prison, from the local police station every night. So I give you credit. You picked the right sport. I don't know why this was so hard for the NFL.
No, did I? The same sport who turned a blind eye to steroids until it actually came out, and they're like, we didn't know. The same sport who knew about the cheating allegation for 2 years? I don't know, man.
Hey, Eric, the NFL's known they've had a steroid problem since 1973. At least baseball addressed it. They might have turned a blind eye, but eventually they fixed it. Football didn't fix it. They put the steroid issue on steroids. And they knew about the Patriots cheating scandal from day one. The Rams told them, hey, New England was at a walkthrough. Something's going on. No, everything's fine. So, yeah, you did. Because better late to the party than to not show up to the party at all. The NFL, they still haven't shown up to the party. And it started 20 years ago. And they're like, where are you guys at? So, yeah, you did. It might have taken baseball a while, but they did it. What's the punishment for Bill Belichick this year for cheating against Cincinnati? Anything? Anybody? Crickets? Nothing? That's what I thought.
We'll find out soon.
Yeah, you want to know what it's going to be? Stop doing that. Go play football. That's what it's going to be. Maybe it'll be a 7th-round draft pick they take away from him. Or they'll take a 1st-round draft pick, and New England will just trade somebody to get a 1st-round draft pick back. Because they don't, even if the punishment happens, they're not going to take it seriously. New England's done. They're done. The franchise is finished. They will fall off the wagon in the next 2 to 3 years. Undoubtedly. But the damage that the Patriots have done to the National Football League is not only unrelentingly, or not unrelentingly, it's not only totally unfixable, but it has scarred the sport forever. And I will never, ever again utter the words Bill Belichick is a great coach. Because I don't know if he is or not. Because I don't know what Belichick's record would be without the filming. I don't know what Tom Brady's record would be without knowing the defensive signals. You want to know how easy it is to play quarterback when you know the defensive signals and what their blitz packages sound like and look like from the sidelines? Please. Couldn't be easier. It's like in baseball when you know what pitch is coming. They're identical scandals. And baseball did it right. Again. Because yes, I believe they did it right with the steroid situation. Yeah, it was late. Yeah, they could have done better. But they addressed it, they tackled it, and they took care of it. Not football. Steroids has led to concussions, which is still a problem with the sport, which has led to rule changes that have hurt the sport even more because they won't address the steroid issue, which has addressed or created the concussion issue, which has addressed the rule changes that have ruined the game. And New England still unpunished. $500,000 fine. A 2nd-round pick, or a 1st-round pick, gone for the following year. And Belichick keeps his job, and Tom Brady keeps his starting, doesn't get suspended. Deflate balls, suspend New England, Tom Brady for the first 4 games. Oh, by the way, make sure you put Buffalo, Miami, Arizona, and then throw in Kansas City so it doesn't look like we're rigging this too much for the 4 games Tom Brady's out. Yeah. That was done really well. Anyway, credit to baseball. As a Yankee fan, as a Dodger fan, I give credit where credit's due. Baseball did it right. Anything you want to wrap up with this, E?
Yeah, something that I found hilarious. Odell Beckham Jr. was at the national championship game. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, throwing money around.
So what?
After their win.
So what?
And, right. Well, he's considered a booster.
No, he's not. He's okay. Oh my God, dude, really?
He's considered a booster, so they can't take that money. Okay, sure, whatever. In the midst of the celebration, smacks the cop's butt. Now there's an arrest warrant out for a simple battery charge. I have a question. Why is it cop in the middle of a celebration? Get out of the locker room. You're a joke.
Wait a minute. Are you kidding me?
Swear to you. In the midst of celebrating, smack the cop in the butt.
I'll tell you what, dude. If I'm an NFL coach, if I'm a GM, if I'm an owner, it's really simple. No media allowed. No security allowed. Nobody but player and personnel allowed in the locker room. I will not allow my players to talk to the media unless it's outside of the locker room. Because this happened with Houston after the ALCS or ALDS, whichever one it was, and now it's happening to LSU. Watch, it'll happen in the NFL too. Somebody will be like, say something, and somebody will immediately get offended, and it'll become a story all off season long.
The funny part about this is that, listen, Odell, you had your time playing for LSU, going to school there, doing whatever the heck you did there. You had your time. Man, the locker room isn't where you're supposed to be. The only locker room you go in is Cleveland Browns, or whoever you're traded to, whoever you're released to get picked up by. Mm-hmm. That's the locker room you go in. Just because you went to LSU doesn't mean that...
Eric, that's unfair. Eric, I'm going to stop you. That's unfair. How many former players go to their university's championship game and end up getting access into the locker room?
Well, then cut down on it.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair argument on your part.
You can stand on the sideline. I have no problem with that. Okay? I have no problem with you being there, supporting your school. I love seeing it. I do. I truly do. Okay? But when you start celebrating with the other players, they're like, oh, we're on Odell Beckham Jr. Oh, stuff starts getting out of hand. Yeah. Okay? And it's not, and I'm only using Odell because he's the latest in the news. That's all I'm, using.
Fair enough.
Let them enjoy their moment. You celebrate by going buying a national championship T-shirt, a hat, or something. You know what? You know what the funny part about this is? Randy Moss's son is the tight end at LSU.
Yeah.
He scored 2 touchdowns. Randy stayed in the stands. Randy wasn't down on that field jumping up and down, going crazy and smacking cops or whatever in the midst of the celebration.
Yeah.
Odell doesn't need to either. Okay, I get it. He's in there. He's celebrating. He's excited. See the moment. There doesn't need to be security there where they're at. I'm sorry. Grow a pair.
Right. All right, well, listen. We got to wrap up. My battery hopefully don't die before we're finished with this. I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
I love that Eric ended with that. I think it's great. We started with LSU. We ended with LSU. So kudos to you, E. Great job wrapping up the show. Horns up.
Bear down.
Go Rams!
Go Chiefs and Titans and go for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, go Rams. Bye.